What's up, guys? This is Sean.
This is Zach.
And we're from the Yelling from the Stands podcast. And today, we're here to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone and computer.
One cool thing Anchor can do for you is it will distribute your podcast across all platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
So in a nutshell, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting from Southern California, this is Yelling from the Stands.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Yelling from the Stands, episode number 23. You got Sean, your host, in the house today, and we have a very special guest host hailing all the way from sunny Tennessee. Welcome, Mr. Brendan from Low Key Sports.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, dude?
Episode 23.
23,
wow.
man.
Seems like we just did that last podcast.
Which one were you on, like 9? I think it was like 9?
7 or 8, I thought.
7?
Yeah, 23, we got the MJ number.
That's what I
Good
say. We're
podcast.
Michael Jordan this time, man. Have you watched that documentary?
Oh, very phenomenal
Dude,
documentary.
it's great, dude. I love it. I could watch crap like that all day.
Love sports.
So Memphis, right? That's where you're at right now, Memphis?
Yep.
How is it?
Tennessee.
How's the weather out there, man?
It's actually like just getting out of like the humid summer into that, crisp fall weather.
Oh.
So it's kind of like that perfect medium right now until we get ice.
Yeah, then it gets really nasty.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I miss about being out there in like the Midwest. When the fall is unreal, man. When the humidity just drops, the leaves start to change colors, and you get that cool air at night. It's football.
It's
football
awesome
weather,
right now.
man.
Perfect. Exactly.
Dang, that's nice, man. So how's things been going with Low Key?
Pretty good so far. With school getting back, obviously, been a little bit busy, but overall still trying to make posts. We got 330 followers, so
Nice, man.
that's good.
Well, that's awesome, brother. I haven't told anybody yet. I think we might have talked about it in the last podcast, but you're in our fantasy football league this time. You're in our SoCal league, not the one that gets the trophy. That's my trophy back there for FFL. I've got it because I won last year, but that's our $100 buy-in one. The winner takes home about $800. So it's pretty cool. Maybe stick around long enough and I'll get you an invite, because basically people start dropping a little bit here and there after they've been in it for so long and they don't win. I think I had 2 people drop this year that have been in it for a few seasons, and finally we're like, okay, man, I'm not winning. I can't keep giving you $100
Losing
every year.
$100 every year.
Yeah. So spots come open, but it's pretty competitive, dude. It gets legit. But
I imagine.
yeah, let's get into some news. So we got some news we're going to talk about. We're going to do some fantasy football stuff towards the end, and it's fantasy time, so that's the breadwinner. But let's hop into some news. Right off the bat, I know you know Airbnb, but do you know the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I know you're a little bit younger than my generation.
Like I said, I've seen reruns here and there, but nothing new. But I know the general, idea of the show.
Yeah, I grew up watching it, man. A lot of people my age did. It's pretty badass. But Airbnb is letting people stay in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's mansion. So the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air first episode aired 30 years ago this month. So it came out when I was 4.
Oh, my.
Wow. And to celebrate the milestone, Airbnb is allowing people to spend the night in the same mansion using the popular 90s sitcom. But only if you are a resident of Los Angeles County. I didn't know that. I didn't know you had to be in LA County. We're just right outside of LA County.
That's a bummer.
Damn. So starting September 29th, residents will have a chance to spend $30. That's it? To spend one night?
Wow, that's a lot cheaper than I thought it would be.
Residents can select from one of 5 available dates, the 2nd, 5th, 8th, 11th, or 14th. So is it like one person? That's going to sell out. Or unless, I wonder if they're rented out a room or something like that.
Yeah, probably like a room or something like that. But wow, for $30, I mean, especially like someone who grew up watching the show, I'd love to do that.
Dude, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. So this says obviously you're not locked in your bedroom for the entire day, but you'll likely still have a blast. Here's the listing explaining what parts of the mansion you'll have access to. It's your crib for the night, so feel free to act like you own the place. My wing of the mansion includes my bedroom, bathroom, shower, pool area, outdoor lounge, and the dining room. And all you got to do, and you got to do it like my guy DJ Jazzy Jeff. So don't forget your sunglasses. That's lame. Will
Classic.
Smith is the host.
Oh wow,
That is huge, man. How is
only $30?
that doesn't seem right for like 5 nights total. That's all they're going to do it for.
There's probably got to be more to it.
There's got to be a catch to this, man. There's going to be too many people wanting to get on
Hosted
board.
by
to-
Will Smith. Yeah,
That's. I mean, you're opening the door right now just to Will Smith fans, man. People that don't care
Exactly.
about the show. That's pretty
and then
cool.
you
though.
get all the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like fanboys and stuff like that.
Now we all have our shows we grew up with. Like I grew up with like Boy Meets World, all that kind of crazy old '90s show. You're like, I don't know what that crap is. What shows did you grow up with? Because you're in a whole different generation.
SpongeBob. I hate saying that, but I mean,
No, it's
I don't know. I can pretty much quote like seasons 1 through 5. Like I can watch the episode and just tell you what's going to happen.
Serious?
I love SpongeBob. And then kind of like as I was like getting a little bit, more advanced humor like Jake and Josh and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Josh Peck, I like him a lot. He was in a movie called The Whackness. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I love that. It's one of my favorites, dude. It's really good. He's a drug dealer.
Classic.
But dude, if I could get in that, I'd definitely go check out that Airbnb. That's pretty sick. All right, more sporting news on the way. I'm not a big boxing kind of guy. You a boxing dude?
Here and there. Depends on who's fighting.
I usually watch the big fights like UFC too. I don't get really hardcore into it, but this intrigues me. Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson agreed to a fight a while back. So Roy Jones, I guess, came out just here recently and said he may have made a mistake in agreeing to a fight with Mike Tyson. So it seems that he's having a change of heart. 2 months ahead of their scheduled head-to-head, Roy Jones Jr. is admitting he may have made a mistake when he agreed to fight an exhibition with the former heavyweight Mike Tyson. According to reports, Jones and Tyson were originally supposed to fight this month, but promoters pushed the exhibition back to attract a larger audience. Now the duo is set to compete in an unofficial bout on November 28th in Carson, California. So
I would definitely want to back out if I was fighting Mike Tyson. I don't care who you are. That man's a tank.
absolutely. I remember watching some of his fights when I was younger, and it was terrifying, man. And just if you've watched any of his Twitter stuff lately, he's been putting up about his training. Dude, it's absolutely insane. He's been on Twitter posting videos. Have you seen these?
Yes, I mean he's jacked.
I think he's in his 50s. This is ridiculous. This guy, I mean, I wouldn't fucking dare step in the ring with him. I don't care if he's 60 or whatever age he is, man.
And it's funny because he retired like the first time, and when he came back out of retirement, he looked like sluggish, and it kind of looked like he was just like using it for his name.
Yeah.
But now, even himself and just people are noticing he looks better now. And I know like age is got to be a factor and stuff like that, but if anybody can fight at that late of an age, it's Iron Mike.
Absolutely, dude. When he was in like the Hangover movies and stuff like that, he was not in a good place. He looked kind of buff, but he didn't look like he could do it then. He looks better now.
He's ripped.
So I guess as of now, the fight's still on, but he's definitely having some second thoughts. Rightfully so. All right, what else we got? Let me pull up our episode list here. Oh yeah, you were telling me something about the MLB bubble. What do you got about what's going on with that?
So we already know with MLB, we got a shortened season. Everything's out of whack. So this year they're doing the 16-team playoff bracket, 8 teams from the American League, 8 teams from the National League. And they're going to start adopting the bubble-like setting now, like the NBA is doing for their playoffs.
Good.
So the National League is holding their playoff games in Arlington and Houston, and the American League is holding their games in San Diego and Los Angeles, with the World Series being played in Arlington at the new stadium.
That's cool, man. Have you seen the pictures of the new stadium? What do you think of it?
It's awesome.
It looks pretty tight. You like the outside of it, though?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looks like a fucking barn or something like that.
But at the same time, it probably has like really nice air conditioning and everything.
Dude, it looks gorgeous. It's the retractable roof, right? That thing's retractable. Dude, it's gorgeous from the inside. I saw pictures from the inside, and then when they showed the sky cam, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Exactly.
But no, it does. And if you look at the renderings, we talked about it on a podcast weeks ago when it first came out and it became a big news. Like the renderings look totally different from what happened. And I guess they had some fire or something. There was something that happened that set them back. So they probably had to change materials and cut some spending. And that's the reason it turned out the way it did. But I'm glad the MLB went that route because God knows they've had all kinds of trouble just keeping consistent with testing. And I mean, God knows how many games they've had canceled already because of it. So I think
the Cardinals and Marlins had a few games canceled, and poor Cardinals have been playing like double headers. I mean, all the time.
I love what the NBA's done. I like what the NFL's doing right now. Especially, have you watched Hard Knocks?
I did not watch Hard Knocks.
Oh man, you got to get a chance to watch that. They did San Diego or Los Angeles teams. I still like the Chargers. I still call them San Diego.
Yeah.
But they did the Chargers and the Rams. And the first episode is all about how they're doing the testing players each day. It's sick, dude. It's really cool. Kind of puts you in a little bit of ease because they're really doing it right. They're wearing wristbands that will tell you if you're too close to another player, and it tracks everywhere you go. The reason you wear the wristband every time you come into camp, you check it out. So let's say I end up getting COVID and I test positive. It'll check my wristband, and everybody who was within 6 feet of me in the last, however days I've been infected now is on the COVID list. Because they send them home as well. It's a lot of cool things going on. If you get the chance, man, check out the Hard Knocks. It's pretty cool. The first few episodes are really neat. You kind of get to see behind the scenes on what they're doing. Like the Rams set up a whole new outdoor facility. It was cool, man. It was really neat. But it's good to hear the MLB finally doing something a little different. I feel like they kind of were a little bit lax on it when this stuff really first started, and it kind of bit them in the butt.
For real.
All right, let's get to some hockey, man. Are you a hockey guy?
A little bit. I keep up with my Predators, but they were one and done. So
yeah, I was actually the only time I've ever been in Nashville was during the it was the Stanley Cup playoffs when you guys went to the finals.
Yeah, when we played Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was in Nashville when Game 1 started. God damn, the humidity was ridiculous. That's the only thing I remember.
Memphis is worse, believe me.
Oh, is it really?
Well, we're right on the Mississippi, so.
Oh, that's true, man.
Oh, it's bad.
Well, hockey, man. I don't know if you listened. We did our picks for the Stanley Cup Finals and the playoffs and all that stuff before they started. And I picked. My pick was the Golden Knights. Zach picked the Avalanche to take it all. Neither team made it. We are now down to the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was devastated, man. We were about to go to Vegas here in like a week, and I was like, dude, please make the Golden Knights make it. I just want to see the atmosphere up there because they're big up there. They go big, man. For such a new franchise, it's legit.
I already made a Stanley Cup as well.
Dude,
Stanley
it's
Finals.
crazy, yeah. So, like, you see it everywhere. But no, they did get knocked out. Now we're looking at the Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I believe Game 1 is tomorrow. Who's your pick, man?
So as a fan of the Central Division, I got to go with the Stars, with the Predators. Stars have looked really good. Lightning, very, very talented offensively. So I think it's going to be a great series. Definitely, especially with the atmosphere and no fans and stuff like that. I think it's going to be very competitive like we've seen in the NBA. But I got the Stars in 6.
In 6, wow. I'm similar with you. I really don't know the teams that well. I'm not a big hockey guy. I'm going to have to go with the Stars as well, though, just the way they took out the Golden Knights. So if they're going to take out the team I originally picked, I might as well go with them. It kind of brings me back to the days. I can't remember what video game it was, man, but there was a hockey game where I played, and I was Dallas Stars every time, and I was Mike Modano, and I was killing people, dude. So
Mike Modano.
That's old, right? All right. Let's jump to the NBA playoffs. You been watching any of these since your Grizzlies didn't fare so well?
Oh, that was I don't want to talk about it.
Man. All right, so we got the update there. The big story before this was the Nuggets, man. What the hell? I think everybody in the country had the LA teams pegged for a Western Conference championship, and the Nuggets said, no, sir. So the Nuggets defeat I'm trying to read this headline at the same time. They beat the Clippers after a 3-1 series lead in a Game 7 obliteration of the Clippers. So they didn't just beat the Clippers; they beat them. What was the final score? 104-89.
And it wasn't even that close. Those were like garbage time points by the Clippers. The Nuggets had complete control, right, pretty much the second quarter and beyond.
So that's what we've been hearing is like the Clippers have been struggling to kind of live up to this super team that they've made. What's going on with them?
We made a post about it on our page, but I firmly believe it's Doc Rivers. I don't think he has the most Game 7 losses of any coach in NBA history. He's blown 3-3-1 leads. No other coach has blown more than one. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to discredit the Nuggets. They came back from 3-1 on the Jazz, which was a great series. Murray and Jokic are playing out of their mind right now. But in the earlier podcast when I was with y'all, I was saying it's going to be whatever team comes out of the West between the Clippers and the Lakers. I mean, no one had the Nuggets or Jazz or anybody else or the Rockets or anything like that. Everyone was saying it's whoever comes out of the West. It's the Clippers or the Lakers. So the fact that the Nuggets got this far, I mean, hats off to them. But I think the root of the problem is Pandemic P and Doc Rivers.
I mean, I'm with you, man. To be honest, I can't remember the last time I watched Doc Rivers actually come out successful in some kind of big setting like this. So I don't know what they're doing or what they're trying to accomplish. But I think they're going to have to make a coaching change. You think that's in the likelihood of happening in the future? Can you even talk?
I believe so. I'd like to see them get Mark Jackson. I think he deserves a second chance, especially with what he did with that Golden State roster before he left.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What do you think about the new hire with what's the dude from the Suns?
Steve Nash.
What do you think about that hire?
I like it. Nets are already going to be an interesting team next year, so why not throw in a little razzle-dazzle with the head coaching pick?
Do you think they're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle, maybe going after the same kind of hire they did with Steve Kerr?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that fared off well for the Warriors, and we already know Durant loves Steve Nash, and you want to keep your stars happy. So as long as you keep Kyrie in his weird little mental zone and Durant's happy, expect the Nets to be really good next year.
Yeah. I think it'll work out. I think that's what they're trying to do is find some guy that knows the game, played it really well, was a very good game manager, and bring him into a role that's not good. Because nowadays, like back in the day when I was growing up, you had these very, very adamant coaches, very aggressive. Now the players have kind of become the aggression on the court, and you don't need that from your coach. You just need a strategist. And I think that's what they're trying to go for because it worked out for the Warriors, obviously, and they're starting to kind of make those sexy coaching changes and hires like this, and I think that's what they're going after. I don't know that Nash can do it like Steve Kerr can. He might even do it better. We don't know, but
we don't.
I don't know, man. It took a lot of people off guard. That's
very, very interesting hire. When I saw that at first, I was like, huh. But at the same time, I was like, I mean, it might be crazy enough to work. So I'm a fan of the decision.
I like it. I just want to see how it plays out. I mean, it's good to watch them try something a little bit out of the box. At least,
for sure.
Something new, especially in the Eastern Conference because they suck. All right, NBA playoffs. This is what we're looking at. So we got the Western Conference Finals, Lakers and the Denver Nuggets, the 3 seed. Over in the East, we've already got, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Miami Heat that is up 2 games on the Boston Celtics. I did not see this coming. I had Miami losing round 2. Mm-hmm. I had them beating the Pacers and losing to the Bucks. Mm-hmm. But who saw this coming? What the hell is going on in Miami?
The Miami Heat are 12-1 in the playoffs. They are 12-1. Jimmy Butler, I think, now deserves recognition that he deserves. He's proved. I mean, even with them letting family members in the bubble, I thought this was very intriguing too. At the beginning of the second round, they allowed family members to be in the bubble, because as the first round teams were leaving, you could fit that same amount of people in the bubble. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler wanted none of his family at all. And he said, this is a business trip. He said, we've been waiting for basketball to come back. He said, this is a business trip. And because of that wait, I'm going to make sure it was worth it. And he's definitely playing like it on the offensive side and the defensive side of the basketball.
And you could tell, man, the guy showed up focused. I mean, I heard a little bit about the story about him not bringing in his family, but I think Jimmy Butler's always been on that kind of second tier. And he's always been looked at like, well, if he's relevant in the playoffs this year, he kind of elevates himself to a level 1. But for the majority of the time, he's kind of level 2. But I think this is really like kind of like what you're alluding to is these guys for real, dude. It's the same thing with Damian Lillard. We went through it the last couple of years watching what he can do in the playoffs and realizing this guy's legit. He's a star. And I don't know what they're doing in Miami, man, but nobody saw this coming. I picked the Celtics to be like kind of my second team to really come through and surprise us in the East. But shit, man, who saw this coming with Miami?
Not many people did, but I'll tell you what, they're the hottest team right now. And if any team's going to give the Lakers a chance, I believe it's Miami.
So that's the other thing we got to talk about. Do the Lakers get through? Now we're seeing these other teams.
I think so. I now with the way the Clippers and then the playoffs are shaped out in general, if the Lakers do not win the championship this year, I mean, you have a whole case of LeBron not being the GOAT. I mean, there is so much in support of the Lakers right now. It's not even funny. I mean, they're the favorites to win. They're the number one they're the highest seed right now that's still left in playoff competition. And just the whole, obviously with Kobe, and the whole Lakers mentality. And I found something kind of interesting. Kobe's fourth ring, he played Houston in the semifinals. They played the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, and he clinched in Orlando.
Whoa.
LeBron, semifinals against Houston, Western Conference Finals against the Nuggets, and they're playing the bubble in Orlando, and it'll be for LeBron's fourth ring. So with all these crazy tie-ins and Lakers and the Lakers, would tie the Celtics with their 17 wins and stuff like that. There's so much in support of the Lakers to win this that if they don't,
that's crazy,
it's
dude.
A travesty at this point.
I kind of agree with you. I feel like Kobe really was handed a silver. Oh, not Kobe. I mean, LeBron was handed a silver platter right now and say, "Look, you're in a better city. You got a bigger fan base. We're going to give you Anthony Davis, who I think is one of the best players in the league right now, top 3." And gosh, I mean, if they don't come through with it now, I just say so because I didn't give the Denver Nuggets a chance to get past round 2. I had them losing to the Clippers. And actually, no, I think I had them losing to the Jazz. I think I had them losing round 1. I like the Jazz. I thought they have a lot of talent. But I don't know, man. It's really made it intriguing. It's going to make the very end of these NBA finals pretty interesting to watch. So I'm pretty excited.
Very competitive basketball going on right now.
That is for sure. All right, let's hop ahead. Let's going to talk some football. All right, so before we get to NFL, we're going to talk some college. Right off the bat, LSU's Ed Orgeron. I love this headline. As a journalism student, you're taught to kind of make these sexy headlines, but he made it all with this quote. This is literally the headline. LSU's Orgeron. Most of our players have caught coronavirus. Most. What the hell? Oof. That's the headline. So LSU head coach Ed Orgeron said Tuesday that the majority of his team have contracted COVID-19. I think most, not all of our players, but most of our players have caught it, Orgeron said. So hopefully they won't catch it again, and hopefully they're not out for games.
Wow. Oh, that's a very Ed Orgeron quote.
Exactly.
And B, that is so terrifying to hear as a college football fan.
Could you imagine being a parent of one of those players? I hope they can't catch it again so they don't miss games.
That's know.
Look, I know we're still learning a lot about COVID-19, but there's something that a lot of people that don't really put any effort or put any weight into, and it's the long-term effects. There's people there's a lady my wife follows online that got COVID, and she's like her age, has a couple kids, and she got COVID, and now she can't even speak. Like she's having brain tumors and all this stuff pop up. I don't know if it just accelerated something else that was going on or if it's actually from the coronavirus itself, but there's a lot we don't understand. So
it's very weird
to watch a guy that just won a national championship and had a Heisman winner and had all this stuff go on last year, very successful, come out and say, yeah, we're just hope these kids don't miss any games. Come on, bro.
Like I said, that's an Orgeron quote. So
I hate his accent, but I do love listening to him speak because he does keep it real, and he's a real
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I love hearing that guy.
Go
man.
Tigers.
But that leads us into college football. I mean, dude, is this going to happen? We got some news today and yesterday about the Big Ten. They're announcing that they're trying to come back for a late October return. And now Pac-12 is eyeing a Halloween as a possible restart date as well. We already know the other major conferences are in play. My Cowboys play tomorrow, their first game, which they had to move back already because of the COVID. Everybody knows my take. I don't think college football is going to even end this year. I think we get to Christmas and college football ended weeks ago. I don't think it's going to happen due to the student athletes. You don't have enough people there that, I mean, the NBA and the bubbles work well because you're able to tell these people what they're going to do in their free time. With a student athlete who's not making any money and you're not paying them directly, they go home after class or after practice and they go and do what they want to do, which a college student is usually hang out with friends, go out and party. It's public, it's social. So there is no bubble. That's my thought. What do you think about college football? Where are we headed?
To be honest, I mean, I'm on the same boat as you. At this rate, just with everything, I do think it is interesting, though. The Big Ten and Pac-12, especially trying to get back into it. It just shows you how important football is, money-wise for these schools. Like I said previously, like with the way it's going, it's not looking good. But, I mean, they realize that they need it back. They got to make that revenue. I mean, there was a stat that came out a couple of years ago, and I can't exactly recall the exact percentage, but I mean, college football is the reason other sports exist.
Yep.
And without football, schools have had to cut scholarships for so many other programs, and other sports have been taken away from all these other schools because of just one season of college football not being played. So I really, as just a sports fan in general, I want college football to happen. I don't think it gets to bowl season or anything like that. Something's like a big outbreak's going to happen on a team or something like that, and I think it just gets shut right back down again.
Well, I think we were looking at the big outbreak right now. You have the defending national champion whose conference decided to play football this year, and now most of their players have COVID. And the fact that that's not broadcasted on ESPN and running on the ticker constantly, I'm shocked, because how the hell are they going to finish the season with this is happening? This is a top 10 team we're looking at, LSU. This is I don't know if they're in the top 10 right now. I don't even pay attention to the standings because I don't think it's going to end. But the point is they're the defending national champion, and their almost entire team has COVID. So they're not going to play a game for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Jeez. I just don't see a world where you can expect these college teams to stay healthy and not get infected. And I'm sorry. Within the next month, I think it's over. And I think the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are doing this to save their ass. I don't think there's any other reason, because they realized we probably jumped the gun by saying no too early and not, talking to our players and talking to our athletes. And they came out and spoke against it. You have the guys from Clemson. You got the guys from the Ohio State coming out. All these guys are coming out and saying, you guys are taking away my chance to show off on my senior season before I go to the draft. And I know there's some that came out and spoke against those guys because they're like, we're not going to play in the NFL. We're just here for a scholarship. I don't want to play.
Exactly.
So I think the pressure got really bad this last week. And these conferences finally said, look, if we don't at least try to do something, we're going to lose players. And that's where the problem lies, because all these guys, everybody knows that we're going to have another season of eligibility. So if my conference, I can't even trust them to allow me to play, transfer portal, here I come. So I think the Big Ten and the Pac-12 finally just said, look, we've got to try to save some of this face, and we're going to have to try it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
It's a sticky situation. And I think like I said, you watch the Hard Knocks, man. You see what the NFL's doing. The college game is nothing like that. There's no way. You can't track these players. Some universities don't have the money. Some universities don't even have weight rooms. How the hell are you going to track kids?
Yeah, put a wristband. Yeah.
You can't afford that. I mean, these, and especially the COVID test, players are getting tested every day in the NFL. They come in, they get tested, they get the blood test and the saliva test, and they know just here, within a few minutes, if they have it. You can't afford that, man. And like you said, there were some colleges that were shutting down the sports that weren't holding themselves afloat financially, and that caused a big backlash, because then it's sexist. Oh my God, I want to watch football, but but women's equestrian team was canceled for the year. So it's a sticky situation. I know. Shucks, man. Hey, Oklahoma State equestrian champions 2009. I think it was 9. When I went to school there, we were national champions, right? Nay. But
I think Mississippi State.
I think it's too hard to control, man. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think college is done. But let's get on to some important football.
College basketball as well.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. All right, it's fantasy football time. Let's get into some fantasy news. Right off the bat, we're going to hit you with the hard stuff. Injury report that is way too fucking long. I know for a fact I've got at least 4 guys that are questionable right now. Who do you have that you're worried about playing this weekend?
Pretty much for my teams, Kenny Galladay. I loved him a lot last year, and his hamstring and him, he's not even practicing. And like he's still listed as questionable and stuff like that. But the fact that he's not even practicing with the team scares me. And I think a lot of Kenny Galladay owners are weary about. You can sell him. I think now is the time to sell.
Yeah, because we have seen a slew of soft tissue injuries. I think big time due to no preseason, no warming up. A lot of stuff's taken away from the players. But it did come out earlier today. Kenny Galladay's not playing this weekend. He's out. I don't know if you heard that. So Kenny Galladay owners, you better go somewhere else. Which I've got another streamer you can do. We'll get into that here in a little bit. So off the top, I've got 14 players we're going to talk about right now. And starting off with yours truly, Mr. A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, bone bruise, is out. It was announced about 3 hours ago. I've got him in the SoCal League. Yep, he's on my bench now. A.J. Brown out. I'm not sure bone bruise is something I am familiar with as far as injury goes, but I would assume maybe next week we might be looking at a shot of him coming back. Do you know anything more than I do?
I haven't heard anything besides the fact that he was listed out as this week. As a Titans fan, just that's all I really heard. Kind of the first I've heard of the injury today, but I don't think it's anything too serious because he hasn't been placed on IR or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I expect this just to be a 1-week injury and hopefully not a long-term thing.
That's what I'm expecting too. Number 2, we got Miles Sanders, who came out today, 100% playing in his words. So Miles Sanders is go, which I've got him in 1 league, I think, maybe 2. Actually, I might have him in both. So he is playing. Number 3, we got Devontae Parker. I think you've got him, right? Game time decision as of right now, hamstring. So make sure you pay attention. Early Sunday, Devontae's status is up in the air still. Chris Godwin, he's in the same exact boat. He's basically doubtful, though. It's not even a game time decision, really.
I don't even think he's playing.
I wouldn't expect him to. I would tell everybody that has Chris Godwin, make other plans.
Yeah.
Even if he does play, it's going to be a snap count. It's going to be more of a decoy situation. They've been really quiet about this concussion protocol for him. He got hit late in that last game, and he basically was fine at practice for 2 days and then started feeling symptoms day 3. And we haven't really heard an update other than he didn't practice today. So I don't look for him to play. He's probably going to get some concussion protocol news come out probably by tomorrow before they get their final rosters in. Julio Jones has a hamstring issue. He is now off the report as of today. He will play this weekend.
That's good.
Amari Cooper, probable with a foot issue. When does he not have an issue, to be honest? I think this is the normal for Amari Cooper. If you've got him, you got to plan on rolling with him. We haven't heard anything too detrimental. But I think if you're an Amari Cooper owner, you got to just roll the dice, man. This guy is hurt about half the time, and he still plays.
But when he does play,
it's big time, man.
He does play.
He is a target share monster. And for Dallas, who's got every tool in the bag to have one of the greatest passing offenses in the NFL right now, he still manages to get a majority of those targets, which is impressive. We talked about Galladay. Galladay is out. We're going to kind of plus up Marvin Jones Jr., but before you do that, we'll talk about some more specifics on that a little bit later in our sit and starts of the week. Mr. George Kittle. Ooh.
Out.
Shortly before we started the podcast, word came out he is out with a knee issue. This is the same knee, I believe, that we had issues with last year. This is a concern. This guy is a crazy good athlete. We all know that. But I'll tell you what, you ain't running anywhere if you got knee issues. And this is the same knee we had.
Especially as a tight end blocking.
Yeah, and he's one of the best. You might need to make some arrangements for a backup tight end if you own Kittle and you're in a league that has a tight end spot. I know my leagues, I took him out this year just due to COVID issues. So luckily we don't have to worry about that. But teams and leagues that do have the tight end spot, you're going to have to make, because this is probably not going to be the only game that Kittle misses. He's a tough player. When he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if we deal with this issue once, maybe twice more this season. We're in week 2. Jamison Crowder did come out earlier, hamstring issue as well. He is out after receiving a ton of targets last week in a horrible offense. Now you don't have Jamison Crowder, your best wide receiver, or your running back in Le'Veon Bell. Please fire Adam Gase, Jets, please.
Just do us all a favor.
Good God. I mean, I don't care if he's any good at football. Like, I've been hearing since he was at the Bears about how much of an offensive phenom this guy is. And since he's had a head coaching job, he looks like an insane psychopath. Like, the looks on his face, the interview memes that they make about him. Dude, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't know. And the GM came out yesterday and reaffirmed his faith in Adam Gase. What?
He must be very convincing as a negotiator or something, because I just seeing what he did with Miami and now the Jets, I don't know how you can still have faith in that man.
And they signed Kalen Ballage after trying to trade for him, and he still went and signed him. Still. Oh my God. I don't get it, man. This is something I don't understand. Gase, in Chicago, their offense was really good. It was when he was there. But brother, he is not a head football coach. Brian Flores has done worlds more in Miami since he's been there than anything close to what Gase has touched. Gase just seems to ruin anything he touches. And who do the Jets have this weekend? Do you know by chance?
The Jets play, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I'm going to find it real quick because that's going to plus up whoever they're playing. They have the 49ers.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Fire up your Raheem Mostert. They have been saying some good things about Brandon Ayuk, too. He's been practicing, so if he does play, you've already got Deebo Samuel out, and now you're missing George Kittle. Who are they throwing the ball to? We know Raheem Mostert broke a record last year with the fastest run, if you heard about that last week, from his 73-yard touchdown, wherever it was. So your 49ers are going to be eating this weekend. All right, Michael Thomas. So he's sitting at doubtful right now, but we are getting conflicting reports on Michael Thomas. So earlier in the week, we got here, we're going to miss several weeks, which is expected. High ankle sprain. It usually will take 4 to 5 weeks to heal. But then Michael himself has said, I plan to play. I want to try. And now we have a report come out today that said they're optimistic and hopeful that he plays this week. What are your thoughts? Let's say he does play, how effective is he?
I think he's news. If he were to play this week, which I don't think happens, I think he's out at least 3 to 4 weeks, to be honest with you. Even if he does play, he's just going to be a decoy. Because I mean, just based on what he did last year, you have to defense on him. I mean, just based on the records that he set. But with a high ankle sprain, I don't see him doing Michael Thomas-like things for another 4 weeks.
I totally agree with you. I actually reached out in the SoCal League and traded for Michael Thomas. I don't know if you saw that. I had to make some moves because of that draft mishap. Had some draft mishap the day of the draft, thanks to the Southern California wildfires and heat. They shut off my electricity for an hour. Ooh, I just had it flash right there. I must be talking about it too loud. Oh. But yeah, they shut off electricity right before my first draft pick. So my queue was full of players who I wanted to target late in the draft. That's what I always do. So with the second overall pick, I was planning on taking Saquon Barkley. And literally 2 minutes before my pick happened, I lost all power to my house. And by the time I got my phone fired up, and don't have great service here on the mountain, by the time I got looked in there, I just walked into the draft room in time to watch it say, "You've drafted Darius Leonard, second overall."
Yeah, everyone in the chat was like, Sean? I was like, dang, he must really want Darius Leonard. I was laughing so hard.
I was so upset, man. I really prepare very hard for this. Is one of my favorite things to do, fantasy. And I lost my cool, man. I was so mad running around the house. I was like, what the hell? So I was able to get it up on my phone, and then
But you did. Yeah, you did draft a great team, though. I mean, considering that mishap, I mean, it has you predicted to finish second.
Yeah,
based on the recaps and stuff like that.
It had me up there in second, but I knew I was going to have to make some moves because I had too much mediocre talent on my team. I was going to have to trade up and really package some guys, and I knew that, and that's kind of my game. I always do that, so I knew a lot of the guys in the league weren't going to fall for it or go for it. A lot of them won't even look at my trades now because they think I'm trying to pull something over. So I had to target an injured guy. So I started talking to, I think it was Tim who owned him, and I was able to actually trade for him and James Conner and gave him, Hines and some guys I got off the waiver wire plus Stephon Diggs. So gave him some help now so that I got some more help down the road. And that's the way I got to play it, man, because I don't have any Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott. Every player of mine, my top guys are like Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown. They're these second tier, third tier, good players that can turn out to be really, really big contributors, but you got to have an anchor. So I went after Michael Thomas, and luckily I was able to get him and James Conner, which James Conner's playing. I'm not a big James Conner fan, but he's technically a starting running back, and I think he's going to split some snaps with Snell now that we know his abilities. But that's what I had to do, and I agree with you. I don't think Thomas plays this week. I think if anything, he's a decoy, which is a waste. I'm shocked he's not already on IR. If I'm the coach or if I'm making those decisions, I'm like, shut up. You're going on IR. We can put you on there for 3 weeks, and you come back for the most part healthy. So
yeah, exactly.
The fact that he's not on IR is kind of I don't know if it's more of the GM and them saying, hey, let's give Michael Thomas a chance to show him if he can play through this, which I don't think he can. They've tried years and years and years, all kinds of players, and it never seems to work out. But I don't know, man. He's a talent. Once he comes back healthy, he's one of the best. I just don't know about his actual status.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump ahead. Courtland Sutton, game time decision as of right now with the shoulder. It sounds like he's going to try to play. He's been practicing limited the last few days. I wouldn't be surprised if they put him out there and maybe limited his snaps a little bit, but I think he's going to play. What do you think?
Based on the reports that I've read, it does look like he's going to play, but like you said, in a very limited role. So I would not view him as a starter this week.
No, especially with Drew Lock. I'm not a believer in Drew Lock just yet. Jerry Jeudy looks pretty good on his routes and stuff during the game one, but like I was telling somebody, I don't. When you watch him play, his decision making is so all over the place that you can't really find a trend or some consistency with the decisions he makes, and it just comes off like he doesn't know what he's doing sometimes. But he does make some very pretty throws.
Oh no, he's definitely. I think he was one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, not this past year, but the year before. But because I saw just how he did in the SEC at Missouri. But yeah, he's definitely got a little bit more room to. But I think he's their guy for this foreseeable future in Denver.
Good. All right, next up we got Henry Ruggs III. He is doubtful with a knee issue. I haven't heard a ton about him. I don't think is he even at practice.
No, he has not.
I didn't think he has. That doesn't.
He's basically out.
Okay, so you're gonna plan on being out with Henry Ruggs. You're gonna fire up. Brian Edwards has been a name they've talked about. I picked him up. 1 target last week. I'm sorry. I'm not going to hold on to somebody that got 1 target. I don't care how good they say you are. Look for – now I'm going blank on names. My tight end, Waller. Darren Waller. He had 6 targets last week. He ended the last season with 1,100 passing yards as a tight end. So I think the running game is developing in Las Vegas, and I think they're starting to get Josh Jacobs and Jalen Richard a little bit more passing downs, because I think Josh Jacobs caught 4 passes last week or 6?
I believe so.
It was a lot.
It was for a running back, yes.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to take the load off of Waller, but he's still the guy right now. It's going to be Waller. You might see Brian Edwards pull out 5 targets, but Las Vegas aired it out last weekend, and we're going to see somebody's going to get those targets. Mike Evans.
Yeah, someone has to.
Mike Evans has not looked good in practice, been practicing on a limited basis, but it did come out just a little bit ago this morning. He is probable, and he is now off that report. He will play. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the Buccaneers offense. I try to stay away from it just because of how many targets are there. I know Brady is capable of doing that, but it's just a lot of mouths to feed down there, especially when you got O.J. Howard starting to make an emergence. It's just too much going on. The last one's Philip Lindsay. He is officially out. I think we all kind of knew that. Hadn't practiced in days. Yeah. He's got the toe issue. Frankly, if you're a Philip Lindsay owner, which I am, he's probably safe to drop as of right now. They've got a tough matchup this week with the Steelers anyways. You wouldn't want him to play. So, all right, let's get into our fantasy starts of the week. I've got a couple. How many do you have, Brendan?
I have 2.
All right. I will do one, and then I'll let you do one. We'll just alternate. So I'll start it off. My start of the week right now, Josh Allen. And let me tell you why. So Josh Allen and the Bills have the Dolphins this week. The Dolphins gave up 217 rushing yards last week. And I know you're like, what are you talking about, Sean? Josh Allen's not a running back. I'm like, yeah, but they played Cam Newton last week, and Cam Newton had 75 yards last week on the Miami Dolphins, and they gave up 3 rushing touchdowns. So the Dolphins actually did pretty well against the pass, which I think is not going to be too terribly hard to shut down Josh Allen's passing game. You're not going to shut it down completely, but he's going to make it up in rushing touchdowns, which is going to get you those points. So I still think he's going to get it done. Probably going to end up with a little under 200 yards passing, but I would not be surprised this week if he goes over 100 yards rushing. He rushed for 57 yards last week alone. So I think if you're a Josh Allen owner, feel extra good about what you got this week. And pray that the Dolphins don't really figure it out just that quick. Who do you got?
So I know this is going to sound like a lot of Titans bias, but I got Derrick Henry. And I'm not just saying that because he's on my team, but I'm doing it for the sole reason he's playing Jacksonville. And we already know Derrick Henry's history against Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
I mean, the 99-yard rushing touchdown.
I watched that highlight this morning.
Like I said, I know that's Titans bias. I did as well. I get goosebumps every time I watch it.
Oh, it's sick.
What he had 3 stiff arms on one play.
Dude, it's unreal.
Yeah, he's phenomenal running back, and especially with AJ out, he's going to get a great deal of carries. He had 32 against Denver. So yeah, I think Derrick Henry is a must start this week.
Absolutely. I think the game flow script as well. I think they're going to get up on what we saw last week with the Titans was kind of like, what the hell's going on?
Yes.
Definitely was rusty, man. I think they're going to shake it off a little bit this week and get it going quicker. And I think once they get that lead on Jacksonville, it's his time to run. They're just going to run the clock down, and he's going to I wouldn't be surprised if he got the same amount of carries, at least over 30. My next one are going to be any Colts running back. Take your pick. Except for Jordan Wilkinson, of course. Not Wilkinson, just the top 2. They got the Vikings this week, and the Vikings gave up 158 yards last week. 4.9 yards per attempt. It was the 3rd worst in the league from last week. Right? When you hear the Vikings under a Mike Zimmer, you think defense. Wow. So they gave this up last week, and that's who they've got this week. Marlon Mack is out for the season with the torn Achilles. Jonathan Taylor is going to eat lunch, guys. He is going to get plenty of carries. Don't be surprised if he gets over 25. I think the game script is going to be a little bit hectic, so that might take away from the running game a bit, but I think that's only going to open it up for the passing game. And we know Phil Rivers still isn't super comfortable in the Colts, and he's still used to his dump-off passes. He is going to make an Austin Eckler out of Nyheim Hines. I think both of these guys are going to be over 15 fantasy points this week easily. I think Hines will be a big target out of the backfield. For Rivers, as the Vikings secondary looks to bounce back because they had a horrible game last week. So I think any Colts running back, Josh Allen, you got Derrick Henry. All right, who's your next guy?
Robert Woods, Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, just got paid.
He just got paid, and the Rams are gonna. They already used him heavily against Dallas. Led the team in receptions, targets, everything that you want from a wide receiver in fantasy football. And especially after getting that Monday today, going up against that Eagles secondary with who. Yeah. Expect Robert Woods probably to go throw out a bone here, say 10, 128 and 2 TDs.
Ooh, that's big.
So, yeah, I think this is the week of Robert Woods. I mean, it's just him and Cooper Kupp right now, and they seem to target him a lot against Dallas.
Yeah.
He had like 65 receiving yards on that first drive alone.
Oh, it was all Robert Woods in the first drive.
Expect Robert Woods to eat.
I loved it because I am a Robert Woods owner. Jump ahead to our fantasy sits of the week. Right off the bat, this one jumped out to me easy. Melvin Gordon. Guys, they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. Do you know, before I put you probably saw the stat, what they were allowing per attempt last week for their rushing?
I do not.
1.4 yards a rush.
Wow, and that was against Saquon too.
Yeah. Wow. Saquon. Not no joke. We're not playing against some freaking scrub. This is your second overall pick that should have been belonged to me, but I drafted an IDP player instead. Saquon averaged 1.4 yards per attempt last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers and rushed for a whopping 29 yards. Not just him. That was him and Wayne Gallman. So Melvin Gordon and the Broncos have Pittsburgh this week. Another layer. It's at Pittsburgh. Gordon will get the work, but there's also no Lindsey. So that's the one thing. Lindsey's not going to play. So that's going to give Melvin Gordon that much more work. I get it, but are you trying to tell me that Saquon didn't get work? Dude, if Saquon can't do it, Melvin Gordon cannot do this. He's going to get the work. They're going to get shut down. With the way the Pittsburgh offense is looking anyways, this game is going to be all over the passing. So I think Pittsburgh gets up early, and you're going to see Denver spend the rest of the time throwing the ball. He might get some points out of the backfield as a dump-off pass from Drew, but I do not expect Melvin Gordon to be any kind of weapon in the running game at all. If I'm a Melvin Gordon owner, I've got somebody on my bench, even remotely, even like a Nyheim Hines, I am setting Melvin Gordon this week. Who you got?
So one of my sits, Sammy Watkins, had a big week last week for the Chiefs. And everyone's like, oh, and I call it a 1 week wonder. Mm-hmm. First week of the season, you always got those random players, that always have like 35 points and all that jazz. But if you look since 2017, Sammy Watkins has had 44% on average of his points for the season accrued in 1 week.
Oh, that's a good stat, dude.
And it was last year, it was 44%. And he got that in week 1 as well. And then since 2017, he always has one breakout week, and then he kind of just sits. And especially with as many weapons on Kansas City, the uptick and how well Clyde Edwards-Helaire played, he should be on your bench.
I totally agree.
Just given the history.
He's the guy that always does that, has a big week like that, and people are like, oh, Sammy Watkins. And then he'll put up 4 points next week, 6 points, 3 points, 1 target. Mm-hmm. It's bad. I told everybody, trade Sammy Watkins after week 1. If you didn't,
well, he's high.
Yeah, you're screwed now. He's gonna show his true self soon. He might have a couple more flashes, but you're absolutely right. There's too many targets there, man, to be consistent. One more sit from myself. DK Metcalf. I love this guy. I was high on drafting him. I didn't actually get him anywhere, but the obvious happened, and that would be Stephon Gilmore is going to be shadowing DK Metcalf this week. He's arguably the best cornerback in the league, guys. New England allowed 182 passing yards last week, 0 touchdowns. I think they will score on them because Russell's cooking, plain and simple. I think they're definitely going to get it, but it's going to come through Tyler Lockett in the slot more so than on the outside, because I think the New England's defense is just going to shut him down. They're going to throw the ball. Lockett's going to get the most targets. Metcalf will get the targets. I guarantee it. Russ will try to shake him off. Russ faces down the competition. He's not a guy that's just going to stray away. He'll go right at him. He's going to make him beat him, but I think he's still going to beat him. So if I've got Metcalf and I'm looking at somebody on my bench, which I know Tyler Boyd's already played, but someone even in that kind of range that can give me close to what, because Metcalf is now, he's a tier 2 wide receiver. He's going in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. I think he's going to average you 10 to 15 points a week with a high ceiling because of his deep ball prowess, and he's the big guy there, the big receiver. I know Josh Gordon is in the mix now. I'm still not buying that he's going to be fantasy relevant whatsoever. Tyler Lockett is going to be the man of the week. Be careful with Metcalf.
Yes, sir.
All right, you got one more?
I got two more, actually.
All right, who are we?
I think this one kind of speaks for itself, but Carson Wentz, he was sacked 7 times by the Washington the Washington football team.
You just got canceled.
Yeah, just boom, like that. Yeah, the Washington football team obliterated that atrocity that is known as the Eagles offensive line. And now they're playing a very angry Aaron Donald and that Rams defensive line. Expect Carson Wentz to not be able to even throw many passes this week due to the fact that his offensive line is atrocious. So if you're a Carson Wentz owner, I'd look to your backup this week.
Totally agree. Easily one of the worst lines in the league. I don't know what's going on right now. They get Lane Johnson back, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really do anything. I'm expecting Miles Sanders to have a decent game because once Carson realizes he doesn't have more than about a half a second to throw the football, it's going to go to Miles. All right, and you got one more. Last sit of the week. Who is it?
All right, call me crazy.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be completely outlandish. A friend of mine who has won the fantasy football league that I played in for the past 3 years has won all 3 years, and he wanted me to plug him so badly. Christian McCaffrey. Now,
what?
I know what you're thinking. And I said this too. I said, Christian McCaffrey. I was like, you can't sit Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey. But last year in week 2 against Tampa Bay, he struggled. And even in his second matchup against Tampa Bay, it was his second fewest points of the season. So Christian McCaffrey had his 2 lowest performing games of the year last year against Tampa Bay. And especially at home, with Tampa Bay at home this year and how struggling that Brady's team looked in Tampa Bay, I see that defense and offense clicking on all levels and routing the Panthers this week. So he wanted me to say it, but I do. If I'm going to take advice from anyone, it's him, as he's won the league the past 3 years. So there you go, Sid.
Well, for what it's worth, Sid, I kind of agree with you. If you look at the stats from last week, he is not getting the passing work he's getting. It was rushes. He rushed 23 times last week. He had 4 targets. Tampa Bay's secondary is no joke. Their rush defense has been the issue for a while. I think he's going to have a little bit of luck right there, but he's not going to break through that line like crazy. If he tries to line up in the slot, try to go some heavy passing, they're going to shut him down. I think his points are going to come if you're in a PPR, which we are, luckily. So he'll probably catch a lot of passes, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of yardage. You're not going to see. I think if he does end up scoring his points, it's going to come from goal line work because, frankly, there's nobody else really to go through. And Tampa Bay is going to shut him down in the red zone when they get close to the passing. So if Christian McCaffrey does do anything, it's going to be from points per reception or just close yardage touchdowns. I don't think the yardage is going to be there whatsoever. So good point. Brave one. I did not expect to hear that one.
Yeah.
Because he was the first overall pick in just about every league in America. But no, rightfully so. Rightfully so. I think it's a great point. All right, that's it for our starts and sits of the week. We're going to hop into waiver wire watch, guys. We've got some guys that were listed on that are mostly setting on waiver wire. Some have already been picked up from earlier in the week. Obviously, coming out of week 1 is always the most important waiver wire week because you really get to pit projections against reality and find out what's true and who does what. I know a good example will be Antonio Gibson. We hear a lot about how he was going to rush all over the place and ended up with 8 points and didn't do a whole lot. So we made the adjustments and we got some waiver wire picks for us to go over. So how many do you have?
I have 2.
2? Okay, so we'll alternate and I'll finish with 2 in a row. I'll start us off. I've got my first overrun was Benny Snell Jr. Obviously, if you're watching the Pittsburgh Steelers play, James Conner went down, hurt ankle last week. He is healthy to play this week, but Benny Snell, after Conner went out, rushed 19 times for 119 yards. That's insane. This guy looks lean. He looks powerful. He looks quick. His cuts are great. They talked about he lost weight and actually put on muscle in camp. They said in training camp, he looked like the best running back. We heard this from multiple sources. So when he got the chance to play, they rode him, dude. 19 and I think it was late second quarter when he really came in, wasn't it? I think that's when it was. So you're talking 19 attempts on 3/4 of a football game. That's impressive. That means if he's the guy, he's getting 25, 26 snaps. Now, if you own Connor and you didn't already own Benny Snell, that was your fuck up. That was your problem because you know Connor's history. Anybody you draft that high, you've got to have the backup plan. Now that we know that Connor is healthy, this is the tough part. Is what is going to be the workload for Benny Snell. What I'm expecting to happen is you're going to see James Conner still come in and be that first, second down. I think Benny Snell is going to transition to a third down goal line back. A little bit of change of pace throughout the game. I think they know his resiliency is a little bit higher than James Conner's at this point. Now, if Benny Snell is on your waiver wire, you got to get him. If nothing else, then just when James Conner goes down. But I think Benny Snell, you're looking at could be a wide or running back 3 or 4 as it is right now, because I think he did enough last week and in training camp to earn him a spot. So if he is on your waivers, you've got to pick him up absolutely right now. And I think, let me check his own percentage because I'm sure it's pretty high. And Benny Snell was one of the guys I traded to get Michael Thomas because that's my thing. I'm a waiver wire quick shooter.
Quick scoper.
That's a good one. Camper, I guess you could say. People hate campers. They hate me.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Let's see. Benny Snell. What's your projection? What do you think he's rostered in?
68.2.
Really close. 74 right now. So he is 74% roster. So more than likely he's picked up in your leagues already. If you did get him, just know what you got. He's a little diamond in the rough. He's gonna pay dividends as long as he stays healthy, and he looks like a stud, to be totally honest. So if you got him on your bench, or if you're relying on him in a flex spot or something, feel good. That's my first one. Who's your first one, Brendan?
First off, I'd like to say I agree with that 100%. I saw what Benny Snell could do at college. He ran all over the SEC. Big SEC guy right here. So definitely like that with Benny Snell. My first guy is Preston Williams for the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look in the first 8 games last year, before Preston Williams got injured last year, Preston Williams consistently out-targeted Devontae Parker. He out-received Devontae Parker and up until his season-ending injury last season. Especially with Devontae Parker being, very injury-prone and questionable to this week. Expect Preston Williams to be that guy, especially with Fitzpatrick panicking in the offense. And Devontae Parker's ADP this year was pick 18, wide receiver 18, and Preston Williams was 47. And like I said, Preston Williams, I think he's one of those true diamond in the roughs. So if he's available in your league, I'd pick him up and expect him to be wide receiver 1 in Miami.
I totally agree. Actually, it was one of my calls earlier on the season. I picked up Preston late last year when he really started blowing up, and Devontae he started getting it going. But then when he got hurt, Devontae took off. But he's rostered in 35% of leagues right now. That's shocking. I was thinking he was going to be 60 or 50 because the word's starting to get out. Preston Williams is a big receiver, and as far as Ryan Fitzpatrick wanting to go downfield, this is the guy. So I expected this to happen last year, but I think it's going to happen now. You get Preston Williams on your team. I think if they do make the switch to Tua, it'll hurt him a little bit because just getting acclimated to the game. But they're Fitzpatrick. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays the whole season at this point. We haven't seen Tua really any reason for him to come out just yet. But I think he's going to be a big time receiver down the stretch, especially with the injury issues that whatever his name is playing.
Parker.
I can never remember names, dude. I will shoot off names to you all day if we're just sitting here talking. But as soon as the podcast starts, I'm like, I think it's so stupid. Okay. Here's my next one, waiver wire watch. These first few ones are really chalky. These are ones that you probably should already have by now. So the next one's Nyheim Hines. Obviously, Marlon Mack's out for the season. He was a huge part of the game plan last week. So those snaps and those targets are going somewhere. So last week, Nyheim Hines had 8 targets, 8 receptions for 45 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 rushes for 28 yards and a touchdown. He took the fantasy world by storm. He was the first waiver wire pickup I took. And honestly, I was watching red zone, and I started it off, and Nyheim Hines was the first guy to score a touchdown this season, as far as not counting the Thursday game, obviously.
Yeah.
He actually got a goal line look and scored, and I was like, Nyheim Hines, damn. So I picked him up. I didn't pick it up right there, but I waited a few minutes, and I watched him catch 3 passes on a drive, and I'm like, all right, I got to go. So I ended up dropping, was it Justin Jefferson, I think, who didn't pan out to do shit. So, but Nyheim Hines, guys, I highly doubt he's on the waiver wire. But if you got him, you're going to have to look at him like a running back 3 or 2 at this point. If you're in a PPR league, you have a gold mine, guys. Phillip Rivers, in my opinion, Phillip Rivers made Austin Eckler. He's a great player. He does it all himself, but that is a Phil River product. And that, in my reason, that's why I have Austin Eckler so low on my rankings, is because it's not going to be the same. He is not a 3-down back. He is not a between the tackles guy. He benefited because Phil Rivers has to have a safety valve. The way he plays, he's pretty erratic, and he will throw a lot of interceptions, but he will also throw out of the backfield just as much. So I think Nyheim Hines is this year's Austin Eckler. You're going to see Jonathan Taylor get the bulk of the carries. He's a better running back. But anytime you line up a guy who can catch a ball right next to Phil Rivers, he's gold, guys. Own him. If he's for some reason he's on that waiver wire, you got to get him.
I agree.
All right, who you got next?
So for your deeper leagues, tight end position is usually very slim, especially this year. You got Kelsey and Kittle. Now Kittle's even injury concern. So tight ends are very up in the air. I like Drew Sample for the Bengals. Uzomah just went out for the year, and Drew Sample received 10 targets. He had the second most targets yesterday, last night for Joe Burrow, and that was with Uzomah playing until he got injured in the fourth quarter. And Uzomah's out for the season, and expect a rookie quarterback to often target those big guys. I mean, AJ Green, 13 targets, only 3 catches. Kind of disappointing for AJ Green fans.
Horrible.
Sorry for you.
Yeah, I own him.
But those targets are going to remain the same, and AJ Green's going to get his due. And I firmly believe Drew Sample, who's owned like 7% of leagues on ESPN, I'm not sure what it is on Yahoo, but especially in your deeper leagues, if you need that tight end, like you're unsure about your guy, I'd pick him up.
That's a great one. He got a lot of targets last night. He looked really good too. And I did you see the Uzomah like injury? They had a video that came out. So I can't watch that shit. My buddy sends it to me. I have a dude. He's in our league. It's Eric. It's the guy that's girly on fire, whatever his name is. He sends them to me every fucking week. Every time somebody nasty happens on somebody's leg snaps, he always tags me on Facebook, and I'm like, no. I've got to be careful.
Dude, I don't want it.
Dude, it'll ruin my day. But yeah, it was bad. He's Achilles. He's out for the season. So, and just like you said, the rookie, the greatest point. Rookies like tight ends. It's easy way. It's an easy route. Easy way. It's kind of like a dump off pass. And you saw Joe Burrow go to him a lot last night. So when they finally showed up and played a defense, because week 1 was a little bit of a fluke. When they showed up and played a defense, they started shutting down, and they've got wide receivers, guys. His tight ends aren't going anywhere. So good pick right there. My last one, Mr. Robbie Anderson. If he's not owned, you're an idiot. This guy had 8 targets, 6 receptions last week. We're for 114 and a touchdown. He is literally wide receiver 1A for the Panthers right now. DJ Moore, who I own and took a shot on, I'm not happy with right now, was totally overshadowed by him. He received 1 more target than Robbie, but Robbie did so much more with his targets. He outperformed him like crazy, and he's got a tough matchup this week, but he's a solid wide receiver 2 as of right now. Teddy Bridgewater likes to air it out. We know Robbie loves the long downfield passes. He is not really a possession receiver. He's a big-time player. So you're kind of getting both little bits of work out of Robbie Anderson right now. And like you said, we talked about Christian McCaffrey having a tough week this week. We know that passing game is going to be tough, but if you look at the last few seasons with the Jets, it always seemed like when they played a tough defense, Robbie Anderson got work downfield. And I think you're going to see big-time plays from Robbie Anderson this week. All right.
Indeed.
We are on to our last segment, Sleepers and Streamers of the Week. I've got 2. How many you got?
I have 2 as well.
All right, we'll alternate. So this one is for you Galladay owners. This is a name that not many people have gonna have heard, I promise you. And myself, when I heard this guy's name and I looked up his stats, I was very impressed. So I'm a firm believer in Stafford being a top 5 QB by season's end. I think he is in a place to really light it up this year. The only problem is he's been missing his number 1 guy. We know Marvin Jones is about the spotlight, but they shut him down. Kenny Golladay is out this week. You need to pick up Quintez Cephas, wide receiver from Detroit.
Whoa.
1% rostered. 1%. Guys, this is deep. Now, if I told you a wide receiver on the Detroit Lions without Kenny Golladay received 10 targets, whose name would you throw out? Marvin Jones, probably, right? No, that was Quintez Cephas, 10 targets last week. Didn't do a ton with them, but for Matt Stafford to come out and give you 10 targets, and this guy is 1% owned, we're all dumb. He is not owned on either one of our leagues. I have not seen him on any kind of list. This guy is completely flying under the radar. So many people are saying it's a fluke, but I'm telling you, Hawkinson, Cephas, Jones, that's his weapons. His running backfield. If it was Carry-On, yeah, I get it, because Carry-On can catch out of the backfield. So can DeAndre Swift, but neither one of those are leading in rushes right now. It's Adrian Peterson, who is a between the tackles guy. He is not going to be throwing off to AD. When you get AD in there, it's going to open up for players like this. So if you are setting in a very deep league that has Kenny Golladay on your bench now because he's not playing, you need to go get Quintez Cephas and reap those benefits, because he's going to be a 5+ target until Kenny Golladay comes back.
Oh, wow. I agree 100%.
All right, who's your guy? Give me a sleeper.
My first guy is Chris Herndon, tight end for the New York Jets. Going big on tight ends today. But yeah, Crowder's out this week, and Herndon was second in targets, second in receptions for the Jets this past week. And Darnold, like I said, he's not a rookie, but a younger quarterback, likes tight ends. And with Crowder out, Herndon still received 10 targets with Crowder. Expect Herndon to be probably a 14, 15 target guy this week, maybe a touchdown or 2. So if Herndon's available in your league, definitely pick him up. He's a sleeper for the season going forward.
Yeah, and as much as we both hate Gase, Gase has actually been singing his praises a lot. He's talked about Herndon being a very special player. Doesn't just fit the mold of the normal guy you see in camp. So we've been talking about him since last season. He tried to come back a few times last year, still had the injury issue, so that's still kind of lingering. But as far as Jets, I mean, who else is there to throw to? I mean, Le'Veon's out. Now you've got the running back dump-off pass is going to be going somewhere else. Yeah. There's a lot of work happening. It's going to be a tough matchup. But no, it's a good one. All right, my number 3 is a tight end as well. This guy is 23% rostered. He's starting to catch a little bit of steam after week 1. Logan Thomas, tight end, Washington football team. He had 8 targets last week, 1 touchdown. And the biggest thing about this is Coach Ron Rivera. I am not a fan of his teams by any means, but I respect him as a coach more so than a lot. And I don't know if you know about Rivera right now, but he's got cancer and he's fighting cancer as he coaches. This guy is unreal. And this guy took time out of his week this week to talk about Logan Thomas. I'm sorry. Logan Paul. No, wrong one. Logan Thomas. He was talking about, he said, I've coached a lot of tight ends and I've coached some of the best. So Greg Olsen, we know these guys. Yeah. And he said, this guy is in this group, guys. Logan Thomas is with these other guys. You need to pay attention to him. He said he's got special coaches spending time with Logan Thomas to try to develop him into the next star tight end. The biggest thing for me, if you're in a dynasty league, these are the kind of words you listen for. When coaches will reach out and say, this guy's so special that I'm going to take my staff and adjust what they're focusing on to make sure this guy's potential is saw. So, and there's a lot of leagues this year that don't have tight end spots, ours included. I get it. It's not that important, but like I'm talking, you get a top tight end. Look at Gronk. Look what Gronk did at New England. He really kickstarted
You're exactly right.
When has there ever been a wide receiver in New England? And this includes Julian Edelman. There was a time before Julian Edelman was really relevant there, and it was Gronk. He carried them through the early years of the Patriots. So this is a guy I'm seeing. It's more of a dynasty pick because he's going to be good this season, a good streaming tight end by all means. But if you're in a dynasty league, you need to swoop this guy up. This is next year's Vernon Davis, guys. This is huge.
Wow.
Big guy, 23% rostered. He'll be good this season, and he's going to have some huge flashes. But Dynasty League, you need to get your hands on him.
I agree. Great pick.
All right. Give me your last streamer.
My last sleeper, Mitch Trubisky. I know, right? I know what you're thinking.
I just threw up in my mouth.
I know. Everyone's like, oh, Trubisky. I'm not the biggest Trubisky guy, believe me. However, that fourth quarter against Detroit really impressed me. And he's going up against a horrid Giants defense this week. And I'm not saying that that's going to be the drive that shapes Trubisky, but all the social media just strife and all this hatred for Trubisky, just given what the Bears could have done in that draft, taking Mahomes or somebody like that, or Watson. I think this is the year that Trubisky shows up.
Really?
And I firmly believe. I mean, he did. I mean, he put up 28 points this past week.
Yeah,
and he's playing a bad Giants team. If he gains some steam early, I know that sounds weird saying Mitch Trubisky's a quality fantasy quarterback, but I think that drive, what he did in the fourth quarter against Detroit, I think that could be the drive that makes the uptick for his career.
Wow, that is a bold statement, man. That is bold. So, I mean, I know Trubisky has it in him. We've saw him when his first season, second season, have some major flashes of big-time quarterback. And he had a good week last week. He finished it off really strong. And I can see the game flow, the game script, because just as bad as their defense is, their offense can score. Excuse me. So I could see this going back and forth and turning into a shootout. So my question to you is, what owners are targeting a Trubisky stream? So who are the QBs that they own that you would start Trubisky over?
Like I said previously, Carson Wentz. I think he's one. And just I'd even say Deshaun Watson. With not saying every week, but
this week, yeah.
With Hopkins gone, especially this week, with Hopkins gone, Watson's only touchdowns against Kansas City, granted they were playing Kansas City, were garbage time points. And Will Fuller as a wide receiver one, I think Trubisky could be top 5 quarterback in fantasy football points this year.
Wow.
That fourth quarter really impressed me.
Okay.
And I'm saying that as the biggest Trubisky hater.
I was not expecting you to say that by any means. That was probably one of the last things I was expecting to hear. Okay. So how many points does Trubisky put up in fantasy this week? I think he did
this week
26 last week is I think what he did.
26.
26.7 is what he did last week in our league. What he's projected 23. What is his fantasy outlook look like for tomorrow or this week?
I'll give him 30.
You're saying 30?
They're playing the Giants, and A-Rob and he are getting pretty close now. A-Rob's, wanting to prove that he's worth this new contract. I think we finally see why they took Trubisky 3rd overall, and they traded up to get him. I think we finally realized the reasoning for the Bears.
Wow. Okay, let's make a bet, because I don't think Trubisky can hit 30 points. Let's make a bet. If Trubisky scores 30 or less this week in fantasy, you've got to post my logo on your Instagram, like just a post promoting us. But if he scores over 30 points, I'm posting low key on our Instagram. How's that?
That's a fair deal.
All right. If it's under 30, I win. Over 30, you win. And I'll be damned. If he scores over 30, man. The crazy thing is it's scary because it's possible. I've seen him do it. There was 2 seasons ago, because last season was really bad. But 2 seasons ago, he was my backup QB on my team going into the playoffs, and I remember winning some playoff games with him at QB because he was slinging it, man. So if he can go back to the days of old, more power to him. All right, guys, that's about it. That's all we have this week for fantasy football and all of our other news. Brendan, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate you coming on and filling in.
No problem.
You're always coming through.
I enjoyed
it. Before we wrap up, let's do our upset. So I told them earlier, I said to come up with one upset this week, NFL games, that's going to take us by surprise. Who's your upset?
Monday Night Football. I got the Raiders beating the Saints.
Oh, very possible.
Yes. So first game, the new stadium for the Death Star, as I like to call it, the way it looks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Raiders, this is going to be a year for them. So I got the Raiders upsetting the Saints this week, Monday Night Football.
That's a good pick, actually, because you've got the Saints without Michael Thomas. Their top wide receivers looking like it's going to be Emmanuel Sanders, who's new to the program. And then you're looking at the first game in their stadium, which, by the way, I've seen in person before, not since it's been completed, but a few times we went to Vegas. It's awesome, dude. It looks sick, and that's right behind the Strip. So that's a good pick. My upset of the week, I'm going with, and I hate this guy, I hate Bill O'Brien, but I think the Texans are going to show off and beat the Ravens. This is always how Bill O'Brien, this is how he does. Look back the last few seasons. He will lose a close game or get embarrassed by a team, and no matter who he plays next week, he will beat the crap out of them. He will win these crazy games he should not be winning, and I have a feeling that he's going to show up and beat the Ravens this week. And because the game's at home, they had a rough week last week. They lost a close one. I think this is the week he shows up and he's just like, oh yeah, let me show you. I forgot. We can play football. So I feel like they're going to figure it out on offense. Hopefully they just set Cooks down. They let David Johnson run wild and they throw the ball to Will Fuller. But that's my upset. I'm picking it right now. I hate Bill O'Brien, but whatever.
That would be a very Bill O'Brien-esque thing to do.
That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking, man. It's just so outlandish. So that's what I was going with. But all right, let's just wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. There is probably some weird edits in there. We had some audio issues along the way. Hopefully you don't notice because that means we did our job. But no, thanks for hanging out, Brendan, and filling in. Always fun having you, man. I love shooting the stuff with you and going over fantasy football. What week?
No problem.
What week do we play in our league? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Let me look that up real quick.
I was going to say, man, that's going to be a special week.
Yes, sir. Going to matchups. Wow, it's just going to be like the last week.
Oh, it's week 4.
Week 4, yep.
And as of right now, our projection point total is within a point. That's pretty good.
Well, you know.
Well, good luck, sir. All right,
good
man.
Luck indeed.
I'm going to turn you loose. Thanks for hanging out. Guys, make sure you check us out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Podcast is available on all major platforms, wherever you listen, especially on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll be getting the video up soon, doing the live streams as well. If any fantasy football advice is needed, make sure you hit us up on Instagram. Comment on any post you want. We'll get back with you. We're starting to see some people trickle in now from last year. We had a bunch of people last year. Every weekend, we were just getting hammered with questions when it was bye weeks and booze. And now it's been kind of slow. So hit us up, guys. Any kind of fantasy advice you need, trade advice, start sit, whatever you need. Let us know. We're here. And we're going to let you go. Go enjoy your weekend, guys. Enjoy some football. And that's all I got. Brendan, you want to send us home? Tell everybody bye. And I appreciate you hanging out, man.
So long and see you later.
Peace out.